Good morning. I'm Marianne Loughlin. Business Day with Bill Hartley will be coming up in just a few minutes, but right now we'd like to bring you live coverage of the test firing of the rocket on the Discovery. We're looking at live pictures from Cape Canaveral. This will be the second attempt to test fire the ship's 3 main engines. And we're coming down to the 10-second countdown. Let's listen.
We have a go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. The motor's up and running. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus 10 seconds. 11, 12. We have a go for a shutdown. And we have safing in progress. If the computer had failed to command the shutdown on time, there were a number of safeguards built into the into the system.
Showing push shutdown and also engine 3. HDD.
All 3 engines are shut down. It appears everything has gone well at this point, and the team has started safing of the vehicle. The auxiliary power units in the process of being shut down.
It appears to have been a successful test firing this morning, a 22-second test firing of the new Discovery. This, of course, was some 11 days behind schedule. They tried to do this test for the first time last Thursday, but the computers detected a valve problem and shut the firing down just seconds before ignition. NASA is still shooting for a target date of September 29th. They hope to launch Discovery. There are still a few more tests that need to be done, of course, some more work on the vehicle, but they're holding firm to that end of September date. They hope they'll be able to get it off then. Again, a successful test firing of the Discovery's engines this morning.
A critical test for the Space Shuttle Discovery and for NASA in its efforts to get the American space program back off the ground. After an all-night countdown and 5 previous delays, the launch pad roared to life for the first time in 2.5 years. The 22-second test of Discovery's 3 main engines, which for all appearances was successful, is a major step toward the first shuttle flight since the Challenger disaster. NASA will go over the test results before setting a firm launch date for Discovery.
We have a go for a shutdown.
Well, the 3 engines this morning, the first engine ran 22 seconds, the third engine ran only 19.5 seconds, but they took the engines up to full power, and they seem to have worked beautifully. The NASA engineers replaced a sensor and a valve and some ducting that gave them a problem before when the last test had to be scrubbed. So it seems that they've licked that problem. Now there is one major stumbling block before they can set a launch date, and that is they must do a repair to the shuttle vehicle itself. NASA officials hope to do that at the pad instead of rolling it back to the vehicle assembly building. But we hope to know, perhaps even later today, whether there will be a launch late in September or possibly early October. Paula?
Do you really think you will get an answer by the end of the day, or will it take them longer to review what lies ahead?
Paula, they have made hundreds of measurements on these engines. They've pointed out to us time and time again that they were making hundreds more measurements than they've usually made, so we obviously won't have all the data. We hope to have some idea by the end of the day. Paula?
Bettina Gregory reporting live from Cape Canaveral. Thank you.
The motor's up and running. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Trial by fire and Discovery comes through. The shuttle's main engines are test fired on the launch pad. A 12 million horsepower rehearsal for getting America back into manned spaceflight. From all outward appearances, the test was successful, and we'll have a live report. Million horses kicked the Cape half an hour ago as the shuttle Discovery's main engines were tested on the launch pad. Look good. Let's get a live report now from John Zarella at the Kennedy Space Center. John.
Reid, indeed it did look good, and as you mentioned earlier, it does look like it went well, but that is only certainly a cursory observation. Finally, after 3 tries, NASA managed to get in that FRF, the flight readiness firing, It is one of the two last hurdles that NASA must get over before Discovery can fly. One more later this month, which is the test firing of the redesigned solid rocket booster, the last one needed to certify those engines for flight. As I said, it looked good from an opening observation.
11, 10, we have a go for main engine start. 7, 6, we have main engine start. The motor's up and running. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 10 seconds, 11, 12. We have a go for the shutdown. And we have saping in progress. If the computer had failed to command the shutdown on time, there were a number of safeguards built into the system.
With me is Jim Ball, NASA Public Information. And Jim, what now? What do we do? What do we look at to see if this test did indeed go correctly?
Well, there's obviously a lot of smiles here at the Kennedy Space Center this morning, and all preliminary indications are that things did go very well. There's a lot of instrumentation on board the shuttle for this test, and the engineers are going to have to go through all of that and review the data. That'll take at least a couple of days. But as I mentioned, all the preliminary indications, the most critical things were monitored during the test, and everything looked real good.
Everybody seems to have forgotten that you still have to get in and fix that onboard steering system rocket. That next here at the Cape.
We do have that repair to complete, but the plan is being laid out for how to do that, and we are still hopeful that we can get the flight off in the month of September. I think it'll be a couple of days before we're able to set a launch date and take a look at the work that really has to be done between now and then. But basically, this test this morning cleared a big hurdle for us.
Great. Thank you very much. Jim Ball with us here at the Kennedy Space Center. We'll be back in just a little bit longer from now with an update as we get some more information on how this test firing went. This is John Zarella reporting live from the Kennedy Space Center.
The test was 11 days late, but apparently well worth the wait, as CNN's John Zarella reports.
It was a morning to celebrate at the Kennedy Space Center. For the first time since the Challenger accident, there was, as NASA calls it, fire in the trench. The Space Shuttle Discovery's three main engines ignited on the launch pad.
6, we have main engine start. The motor's up and running.
For 22 seconds, the engines fired, producing more than 1 million pounds of thrust. It is the most critical ground test performed on the shuttle system. Following the Challenger accident, this test was mandated in order to evaluate the performance of hundreds of system changes and modifications. NASA Administrator James Fletcher, who came to the Kennedy Space Center to watch the show, gave the launch team a thumbs up. He was clearly elated.
Super job, super team, everything. I can't begin to say how well everything's been going for the last several weeks. I know last week was a disappointment to all of you, but that's why we have FRFs, is to pick up things of that sort.
Engineers were expected to begin checking out the vehicle almost immediately after the firing, but bad weather moved in, keeping them away from the pad. At an afternoon news conference, space agency officials said that initial reviews of the test data looked good.
When we did look at the quick look data, the engines performed flawlessly. There was no surprises.
We proved that it works well. We have a well-oiled team and set of equipment that makes me feel very comfortable to go execute STS-26.
It has not been easy for NASA to get through this test. Last week, a sluggish valve caused the engines to shut down. Twice before that, engineers found leaks in lines that feed liquid hydrogen to the vehicle. There were some minor problems in Wednesday's test, but nothing NASA officials say that could further delay the launch of Discovery. There is still one more critical test of the Space Shuttle system. Next week, engineers at Morton Thiokol in Utah will test fire the shuttle's redesigned solid rocket booster. It will be the last test before the actual launch. John Zarella, CNN, at the Kennedy Space